Hi, everyone. In this episode, we're going to be talking about President Biden, his son Hunter, and the war on drugs. So, President Biden has been in the news lately for trying to help his son while he was on drugs. Now, in case you didn't know, President Biden's son has been a drug abuser for many years. And he's apparently clean now, but as he said, it's a lifelong battle. So I guess you never know when he's going to go on drugs again. So let's look at the article and then we'll discuss it. So Fox News has been slammed for apparently trying to vilify President Joe Biden over a private voicemail message he allegedly sent to his son, Hunter Biden, during a difficult phase in his son's battle with substance abuse. So this issue has been tough, and a lot of American families have been going through the same thing with their kids or with their parents. You know, drug abuse in America is a very big issue. And Sean Hannity on Monday aired a 2018 voicemail obtained by the Daily Mail in which Joe Biden says to his son, "It's Dad. I called to tell you I love you. I love you more than the whole world, pal. You got to get some help. I don't know what to do. I know you don't know either." So that's Joe Biden calling his son, leaving him a voicemail in a time where he was abusing drugs and trying to, give him words of affirmation and telling him that he's there for him. So anybody who has been a family of someone on drugs could relate to that statement. And Hannity and Fox News have been trying to make fun of it, trying to make Joe Biden look bad every chance that they get. So Hannity said it's actually sad. And, they're trying to make fun of the whole situation. So let's go to some comments now. So Rachel Vidman says, "A parent expressing love and concern for their child is scandalous. Not sure I understand." And we have Rex says, "It's really mean to report this as anything other than how much a dad loves his kid. A kid whose mom and sister died in a car wreck and brother who died from brain cancer." And another person said, as of 2021, 32% of Americans report that drugs have been a problem in their families. 32%. That is a lot. In 2019, almost half said that addiction or alcoholism has had an impact. I'm guessing almost all of them have left a message almost exactly like this one at least once. So another person said, "Is this supposed to make him look bad? What is the end game here?" And last but least, one of the key turning points in the 2020 election was a debate where Biden acknowledged his son's past addiction, said how he still loves and is proud of him, and defended him against a bully who happened to be the president, which they're talking about President Trump. President Trump definitely not a good person. He would make fun of anybody, he would bully anybody, and I guess he was making fun of Joe Biden's son because he was addicted to drugs. And I would say that if I had a son like Hunter, I would definitely not be proud of him. Okay? Not be proud. I can't be proud of a son who have a lifelong addiction to drugs when taking drugs is actually a choice. Okay? So now, would I support my son? Yes. I would support my son. I would love him. I would do everything to try to get him off of drugs, but I wouldn't be proud of him. So people who say that, they're proud of their kids, when the kids are not even doing good. People who have kids in school that's behaving terribly and bringing in low grades, and when their birthday come and Christmas come, they're giving them gifts and presents. I don't understand that. You're rewarding them for bad behavior. Don't reward your kids for bad behavior, because then they're just going to continue behaving badly. So don't tell your kid that you're proud that, that they, have a lifelong addiction, or that they stop now and they're still battling it. There's nothing to be proud of. Nothing to be proud of. Okay? I would actually be ashamed, actually. So let's let's talk about a couple of things here. The United States declared a war on drugs in 1971. 1971. Today we are in 2022, and the United States is still battling the war on drugs, and some people would say they lost it because back in that time they were fighting cocaine and stuff like that, and now they battling fentanyl and cocaine and marijuana and LSD and bath salts and vape and you know the list goes on. And tomorrow they're probably going to come up with something new. So let me tell you one. I was just looking at a case yesterday, and it was about a former mayor, Mike Holton of Electric, Alabama. So he and his wife were found dead. So let me give you a little backstory. So Mike Holton was addicted to prescription drugs. So he had a back problem. He was working as a fireman, and he hurt his back. So when he hurt his back, doctor prescribed him prescription pills for the back. So his back got repaired, so he was fine, but he continued taking the pills. He got addicted to the pills. So it totally destroyed his marriage. The wife eventually left him. So they had 3 boys together, and one of the boys ended up on drugs himself. So this is proof how parents who take drugs could influence their kids to also take drugs. And taking drugs is going to destroy just about any family. The key is not to take drugs. Ever since I was a kid, and I'm sure long before I came into this world, and that's over 40 years ago, we all know that drugs is not good for you. There was actually an ad that used to say they had eggs in a frying pan, and it would say, "This is your brain." And then they would show the fried eggs, and they would say, "This is your brain on drugs." If you were alive back then, you would know. Everyone knows drugs is bad for you. Everyone knows you can die from drugs, overdose. Everyone knows you can get addicted, okay? So there's no reason to be taking any type of drugs unless it's prescribed. And let's talk about prescription. Some people say, some people obviously start taking drugs because peer pressure. They see their friends doing it and they decide that they want to do it. Let me talk about that a little bit. So when I grew up, I had friends in my circle that were smoking cigarettes and weed. I never touched it. That's when I was a teenager. Now, when I was 7 years old, I remember my father used to smoke weed and cigarettes, and I did try cigarette with my cousin. Me and my cousin, we tried a cigarette, and it was the most terrible thing I ever tasted in my life, and I never touched it again. Now, would I have tried cigarettes if not seeing my father and my uncle doing it? I don't think I would. But you see, when you're around people that's doing this stuff, you get influenced, especially when you're a child and you're influenced by adults. Now, when I get to a teenager, as I was saying, that my friends, they would smoke cigarettes and weed, and I never touched it. You know, I would be around them, would be hanging out, and I wouldn't take a pull, I wouldn't do anything. So it's all a choice. You know, you could say no. You know, when it's time to play basketball, I'm there. They want to play a card game, I'm there. They want to crack some jokes, I'm there. When they want to smoke weed, I'm not there. They want to smoke cigarettes, I'm not. Simple as that. Easy. So kids got to learn, and parents got to teach them, do not succumb to peer pressure. Just because somebody is doing something that you might think is cool, that doesn't mean you have to do it. Because when you're addicted and suffering, those so-called friends, they're not going to be around to help you. None of them are going to be there. Okay? So that is my experience with drugs as a child and as a teenager. So kids should never be exposed to that. And parents should be having conversations about, and let me tell you another story about my personal experience where I did have conversations with my own stepchild. Me and her mother have been talking to her about drugs and why you shouldn't take it and all that for many, many years. And when she got to the age of 14, she did the same thing we told her not to do. And why is that? Peer pressure. So a friend told her that when she was feeling depressed, she took it and she felt better. So my stepdaughter decides that that was a good idea. We, ignoring all the things that we said to her for all those years. We talked to her all the time. And she decides to follow a kid she just met less than a year ago. And she knows for her whole life. And we don't smoke, we don't do drugs, we don't, nothing, But she's more influenced by one of her so-called friends. Okay? Those friends who are going to take you somewhere and not bring you back. They're not going to be there for you when you're in the hospital. Okay? So she, we got it all cleared up. She's fine now. And we had a conversation with her. We had a conversation with her friend and tried to explain to them why you shouldn't be taking drugs. But kids, I think when kids get to the age of 13, it seems like they lose all senses or everything that they learned up to then. It seems like they go back to a baby mode. Their brain just go to mush. And it seems like 13 is the age. I've looked at a lot of different things. 13 is an age where you really have to monitor your child. I mean, you should be monitoring them anyway, but 13 is a real critical age where you need to look at their phone, see the friends that they're hanging out with, because they're really dumb at that age. Really, really dumb. All right? And, that was another experience of mine. Thankfully, she's not. And what she was doing was vaping. And let's talk about vaping. So I remember back in the day, there were flavored cigarettes and all that, and the government banned it because obviously flavored cigarettes is only trying to entice kids. Adults don't really care about flavored cigarettes, right? So that was banned. So now vape came out, and it came out with all these flavors and all that. So the government had to put a ban on that. So obviously they're trying to entice kids, and everything is centered around money. So these companies don't care. The tobacco companies don't care, and the vape companies don't care. All they care about is money. So it doesn't matter what they do to get people hooked onto their product. And, everybody say, no, vape is harmless. And vape is not harmless because it all depends on what the hell you're putting in the vape. And as you know, it's not just harmless stuff in the vape. They can put nicotine in vape. They can put cocaine. They can put anything they want in vape. That's what they do to get you addicted. Okay? So, a lot of these drugs are entry drugs, things to get you acquainted. Like when you start smoking cigarettes and then, let me just try weed, and then, why not? Let me try some coke. I mean, what's the difference? Basically, you're just trying to get a high. Whether you're smoking weed, you're smoking cigarettes or coke or what, you're trying to get high. And high is when you feel nice. You feel nice and light. And, I know what it is because, I've drunk alcohol. And when you drink alcohol, it does make you feel high. So some people are addicted to alcohol. And alcohol could totally destroy your liver. Totally. So you could have major health problems with that. Cigarettes could destroy your lungs. Okay? So these are not things that you should be doing. Whether it's cigarette, whether it's alcohol, and obviously abusing these things. So people who smoke cigarette, I remember my aunt used to smoke cigarettes very heavy. And if she was broke and she got some money, the first thing she would buy was a pack of cigarettes, not food, not water, not nothing. Cigarettes was the first thing that she would buy. It's an addiction. And people always say, oh, I'm not addicted. I could stop at any moment. Bullshit. They can't stop. If they could stop, they would have stopped. Because remember, these things are not free. Cigarettes are not free. Weed is not free. Okay? These things, you have to pay for it. All right? So these drugs, no matter which one you're taking, it's not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for your family. So a report released in 2017 states that 21% of sentenced people in the state prisons and local jails are incarcerated for crimes committed to obtain drugs or money for drugs. Almost 40% of people locked up for property crimes and 14% of incarcerated for violent crimes reported that they had committed their most serious offense for drug-related reasons. If these figures hold for the entire prison population, that means over 473,000 people are behind bars for seeking drugs. It's almost 500,000. Okay? And if I had to guess, it's a lot more than that. Drugs is just prevalent in society. And now weed has become legal. So more people are in the years coming, more people are going to be on drugs. Not just weed, because weed is like an entry drug. Weed and cigarettes is like entry, because once you start getting high on those things, you're going to want a bigger high. A lot of people end up graduating from weed smoking or cigarette smoking or vape to harder stuff, opioids and cocaine and all this other stuff. All right. So more than half of the state prison population and 2/3 of the sentenced jail population report drug dependency or abuse. A lot of people that go to prison because of drugs. That's what basically is saying. All right. So when you get addicted to drugs, you're more than likely going to end up in jail or you're going to end up dead. Basically. That's what you want for yourself? Okay. So it doesn't just affect you. It affects your family, your kids, your job, your life, your future, your health. Just say no to drugs. Basically. Don't take it. World Drug Report of 2019 says 35 million people worldwide suffer from drug use disorders, while only 1 in 7 people receive treatment. So that's basically saying that most of the people that's addicted to drugs don't seek treatment. 1 in 7. Let me say that again. Most of the people that are addicted to drugs do not seek treatment. So that means they're addicted to drugs and they're spending money buying drugs left and right and totally mess up their life, totally mess up their family life, and they don't seek treatment. The report also estimates the number of opioid users at 53 million, up 56% from previous estimates, and that opioids are responsible for 2/3 of the 585,000 people who died as a result of drug use, and that's in 2017, globally. So 11 million people injected drugs in 2017, of whom 1.4 million live with HIV and 5.6 million hepatitis C. So some people are getting infected with HIV and hepatitis C just because they're addicted to drugs. And I guess they're sharing needles and all that. It's a very sad thing. I can't find one good statistic that's related to drug use. Not one. In 2017, an estimated 271 million people, or 5.5% of the global population aged 15 to 64, had used drugs in the previous year. So, in one of my past podcasts, I was talking about how human beings, how we're so stupid. We're very, very stupid. The things that we know are bad for us, we still do it. I don't know why. We just do. And I guess maybe the population is too many of us, and some of us need to die. I don't know why, but we're very, very stupid because 2.71 million people, 5.5% of the global population aged 15 to 64, had used drugs in the previous year. That's a lot of people that's taking drugs. So in North America, synthetic opioid overdose crisis also reached new heights in 2017, with more than 47,000 opioid overdose deaths recorded in the United States alone, an increase of 13% from the previous year, and 4,000 opioid-related deaths in Canada, a 33% increase from 2016. So in America is 47,000, in Canada is just 4,000. Wow. Americans love drugs. So this is not good. None of this is good. None of these statistics is good. There's no good statistic. You can go look online, you wouldn't see not even one. And Another story related to myself, like when I was a kid, my father decided to quit his job. One day he just quit his job. So he quit his job and all he was doing was smoking weed. How he was getting money to buy weed if he quit his job? Well, my mom was working. So that's the money he would use. So instead of the money going to away to a college fund for myself or for savings for our family in general, it's being used to buy weed. So the weed guy, he can send his kids to school, but my family, no money in the bank. Because my father decided, let me just spend my days smoking weed day and night. And he never got a job back. Never got a job back. And that totally broke up our family. My mom had to do everything on her own. So that's my own experience with drugs. I wouldn't wish it on nobody. Okay. So between 2013 and 2021, guess how many people died due to drug overdose? Is it 100,000? Is it 300,000? Is it 500,000 people? No. 700,000 people died due to drug overdose. Think about that. That's a lot of people's fathers, a lot of people's mothers, kids, sons, daughters, aunts, uncles died because they were addicted to drugs. And most people get addicted to drugs not because rain fell on them or they catch, you don't get addicted to drugs by just catching the cold like that. You have to willfully inject it into your body or swallow it via pills or snort it into your nose like Coke. You have to willfully do that. And a lot of people willfully, 97% of them willfully take drugs, even though they know how bad it is. All right. There's an article that I read, and the headline says, "Why are drug dealers getting away with murder?" Every 7 minutes in America, someone dies as a result of taking drugs. Illicit drugs are now the leading cause of death for Americans aged 13 to 50. Man-made illicit fentanyl is involved in the majority of deaths, which now surpass car accidents, firearms, suicide, and illness. The bulk of illicit fentanyl is manufactured in China and Mexico, then illegally brought into the United States. Fentanyl is highly addictive, highly lethal, and very cheap to manufacture. So, fentanyl is a big, big problem. They're all big problems, but fentanyl is the rage right now. And this drug is mostly manufactured in China and Mexico. So what is the U.S. government doing to stop those drugs from coming in? I don't think they're doing enough because they've been war on drugs declared in 1971, and yet still they can't stop it coming into the country. It got to be coming in from somewhere, and they got to know where it's coming in from. I don't understand how they haven't put a plan together where they can totally stop drugs from coming in. So drug dealers are selling counterfeit pills pressed to mimic legitimate pharmaceutical medications such as Xanax. So remember I was talking about this mayor, and he was taking prescription drugs and then he was buying it off the street. So this is what was happening. He's buying it off the street through illegitimate means. And they said they contain nothing but useless filler and illicit fentanyl, which is up to 100 times stronger than morphine. And they're adding fentanyl to common recreational drugs such as cocaine, ecstasy, heroin, Molly, and others. So that's what I was telling you about weed and vape. They add in these things into these drugs. So they're mixing them together. A lot of people die from when people mix drugs together. They take cocaine and then they wash it down with alcohol, and they add in cocaine into weed, and then they add into vape and all that. So everybody just want to be high. Too many not everyone, but too many people want to be high, and it's causing havoc for families in America. This is not just affecting, let's say you're on drugs. This is not just affecting you individually, right? It's not just affecting your family. It's affecting society as a whole. Because as I told you before, a lot of people in jail are drug addicts. Okay? The reason why they're in jail in the first place is because of drugs. Either they're trying to take it, sell it, whatever. Drugs is a major problem. So let's talk about some of the people who you might know, who everyone might know, who died because of their addiction to some type of drug, whether it's alcohol, cocaine, fentanyl, prescription drugs, weed, whatever it is. They died from using it. So not all of them died. Some of them major addictions. Some people died and some are still alive. So the first one, let's talk about Robert Downey Jr. So he was addicted to drugs for a long time, and he finally got clean. So now he's the Iron Man in the Marvel movies. So he got himself cleaned. Let me talk a little bit about people who get clean. I think that taking drugs is a very stupid thing to do. But if you get clean, that's a good thing. But that's nothing to celebrate in public. If you want to celebrate it privately, that's fine. But these people that's in public talking about, oh, I'm free of drugs, I don't take drugs anymore, I'm clean for the past 2 years, I'm clean for the past 10. Nobody want to hear that nonsense. Okay? You shouldn't be taking drugs in the first place. So stop celebrating that you're clean. Okay? Do that in private. Because they kind of glorifying it that, oh, I'm clean. So now it's a thing now to be clean. No, you shouldn't have been on drugs in the first place. And a lot of these people who are big stars, they influence kids. You know, this guy, I know he was on drugs before Iron Man. But let's say he was on drugs after Iron Man, right? People who following Iron Man and the kids and all that, you're influencing them. So if Iron Man is taking drugs, then I can take drugs too. Iron Man is cool. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter if you're a big star in Hollywood or if you're just a parent. You have a big impact on your kids. And as these big stars, you have a big impact on society as a whole. Because if they see you taking drugs, say, well, why can't I take it? You know? So Robert Downey Jr., he got off drugs and now he's living a straight and narrow life. That's good for him. Kurt Cobain actually committed suicide. So he was high on drugs and decided to end his life. And he was a big rock star. Very, very awesome singer. Lindsay Lohan, she's an actress. I mean, she's been in the paper for years and years and years because drugs, just totally a mess. Prince died from a drug overdose. Elvis died, drug overdose. And I'll talk about Prince a little bit more. But Michael Jackson died before Prince. A couple of years before Prince, he died of a drug overdose. So Michael thought he was smart, right? Michael actually had a doctor to come into his home. They set up a bed and all that. So Michael wanted to regulate how much drugs he take. And he think that having a doctor there and the doctor to administer the drugs means he's gonna be good because there's a doctor there, right? He still ended up dying. So even with a doctor living with him, he still died because the body is not meant to take drugs. That naturally is not this kind of stuff that you want to put in your body. And we take it when we get injured and all that to help our body heal, but it's not something that you want to be taking on an extended basis. So let me talk a little bit about. Let me jump back to. Well, I was sick a couple of years ago. Many years ago, I was sick. And for the first time, I took NyQuil. So I had the cold, I was coughing and blowing my nose and all that. So I took some NyQuil and, it made me feel high. Whatever is in NyQuil makes you feel kind of drowsy and high. And it's just like when you drink alcohol, and I'm sure if you take hard drugs, it's a similar type of feeling. Obviously, hard drugs, you're going to be even more high. Some people who take LSD, they hallucinate and all that. There's a lot of people that got murdered because someone was on LSD or some drug and they decide to go kill somebody or rape somebody, okay? So I was feeling nice. It's a nice feeling. You're high and all that, but I was just trying to get over my cold. So when my cold was gone, when my nose stopped running and all that, I stopped taking NyQuil. This is what most people with common sense do. They know that the drug is not, cold medicine is not meant to be taken if you don't have a cold. The point of it all is to take it to get rid of the cold. But drugs is not something that you should have in your body every day. It's not something you should be snorting every day or smoking or whatever. It's just used for a purpose and then that's it. All right? So if I could stop, even though I like the feeling, okay, it felt good, I was nice and high and all that, I know that I'm not going to take that after I'm not sick because it could damage my body. I like drinking a little alcohol, but I know if I drink alcohol every day, it's going to mess up my liver. It's going to mess up my body. It's not good for me. So only occasionally I would have some alcohol. And when I'm drinking alcohol, I'm not drinking to get tore up, you know. So that's the problem. People want to abuse drugs. Now, some drugs you shouldn't take at all. Now, a little alcohol here and there is fine. You know, a little weed here and there should be fine. But the problem is people, they always overdo it and they start abusing it. And whether it's alcohol or whether it's weed or whatever, once you start abusing it, you might say weed is natural. But there's a lot of natural drugs that's not good for you, all right? And even if something is natural, it's not free. So you still got to pay for it. And if you're addicted to it and you're taking it every day, your bank account is not going to look good. You're going to be broke. Okay? So let's go back to some of the stars that have OD'd or used to be on drugs. I said we had Elvis, we had Michael Jackson. So I said Michael Jackson ended up dying at the age of 50. And Prince, who never wanted to be put in the same light as Michael Jackson, you know, thinking that he was, you know, better than Michael Jackson, he died from the same thing, drug overdose. So that was kind of ironic. Then we have, most recently, we had Mac Miller, died over drug overdose. Tom Petty, overdose. Joan Rivers, overdose. The famous Whitney Houston. She was on drugs for many, many years. And she couldn't sing after a while. You know, her voice was finished. She was an amazing singer in her prime, but the drugs totally messed her up. And to make it worse, her daughter ended up dying a couple of years later from the same thing, overdose. So that's just showing you how what parents do influence their kids. So you're not just harming yourself. Think about your kids, how you're influencing them. Because you can't tell them, don't take drugs if you're taking it. So then we have Amy Winehouse. She was very famous for drugs. She even made a song about why she's not going to rehab and why, you know, alcohol is her best friend and all that. So she died because of that. Heath Ledger, he died because he was a big movie star. Chris Farley was another comedian and movie star. Janis Joplin, she was a singer and she died overdose. Julie Garland, overdose. Marilyn Monroe, overdose. And Billie Holiday, overdose. So drugs is not a good thing. In fact, it shouldn't be in society at all, only for medical purposes. Why do people need to be high all the time? I don't get it. People like, I have some people say, it brings down my stress. It's not bringing down your stress if your bank account is getting less. Because I get stressed when my bank account goes low. You know, that's what stressed me out. Okay, so I can't take the little money that I have and then go buy weed or whatever. Then I'm going to even be more stressed because less money in my pocket now. So I don't understand how people say they stress, it calms them down. Why do you need to be calmer? Why are you not calm naturally? Why do you need a drug to get you calm all the time? I don't get it. I really don't. You know? So the benefits of drugs definitely doesn't outweigh the bad things, you know, the negative things of it. So it's definitely something to try something else to relax. Do some yoga, you know, go swimming, you know. I don't know. Do something else besides take drugs because it totally messes up society for everyone. All right. So that's it for this episode. I will see you all in the next one. Bye.